Thousands of British Columbians on edge this Wednesday night as fast-moving wildfires threaten their homes.
It's fairly unsafe for responders to be fighting it.
The highways shut down on what could further fuel the flames. Ontario politicians billing taxpayers for unnecessary hotel stays.
It's unacceptable.
The government emails that contradict the Premier. High-tech help.
Just send us your video and let us do the work.
How AI is aiding in the search for a Calgary boy missing for days. Plus, the OpenAI models that went rogue and hacked another company.
It just did it in a way that shows you how capable it is.
Why it serves as a wake-up call.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Canada is in the midst of a fierce wildfire season and fire crews and water bombers are stretched to the limit trying to fight them. Hundreds of fires are burning out of control, and in British Columbia, a rapidly evolving fire has prompted evacuations and closed highways. One fire in the Fraser Canyon exploded in size so fast the intense heat created huge pyrocumulus clouds visible from hundreds of kilometers away. Hundreds of people have been ordered to flee. Thousands more are told to be ready to leave at short notice. There are 87 wildfires burning in BC, and nearly a third of them are out of control. The Brunswick Creek and Ainslie Creek fires have burned more than 23,000 hectares combined, and the Anderson Creek fire is threatening the community of Boston Bar. Two major highways have been closed, including the Trans-Canada. Sarah MacDonald reports on BC's escalating fire emergency.
The most aggressive of the wildfires burning on the west coast, exploding near Boston Bar Tuesday evening. The smoke visible at flying altitude. As thousands of British Columbians and hundreds of properties were placed under evacuation order in the Fraser Canyon.
It's burning so vigorously that it's fairly unsafe for responders to be fighting it.
With the province sweltering under record-breaking temperatures, a cluster of out-of-control fires has forced the closure of two major highways.
We've discovered fire on the other side of the highway now.
The Coquihalla, now the only connecting artery for motorists in the interior. Evacuees directed north towards Kamloops.
Open flames.
With RCMP checkpoints blocking all non-essential travel, heading south. Members of a Fraser Valley First Nation are on hand to help evacuees in Chilliwack.
We understand the significance of the losses that they're going through right now, right? So we just want to be here to help.
The extreme heat of the Brunswick Creek wildfire complex, spinning off an ominous and potentially dangerous plume into the stratosphere. Pyrocumulus clouds, a phenomenon with the potential to spark their own weather systems, complete with intense lightning. This one not only visible from the lower mainland, but impacting the air there too.
The intense heat has really formed major pyrocumulus clouds that, with that rapidly rising air from those hot fires in there, you get the massive clouds form, and that's really going to continue to deteriorate the air quality.
Southeast in the Kootenays, the entire city of Kimberley and some 8,000 residents have been under a sweeping evacuation alert since Sunday.
Just kind of getting my ducks in a row, getting the most important things together, really.
Most of the province now under heat and air warnings of some capacity, as lightning and wind could only further stoke the flames in the coming days. Sarah MacDonald, Global News, Vancouver.
The extent of the fires across the country prompted the Prime Minister to convene the Incident Response Group today to coordinate the federal response. Mark Carney says as extreme heat waves and record-breaking dry conditions are creating one of the most intense wildfire seasons in Canadian history. We're mobilizing more than 5,300 firefighters and nearly 300 water bombers, helicopters and evacuation aircraft to contain, control and mitigate the fires. In northwestern Ontario, rain has helped reduce the risks somewhat, and crews have made good progress on some of the fires there. Dozens are still uncontained, though, and almost 2,000 people remain out of their homes. Mapping data shows very little new smoke coming from the region. Most of the smoke now is coming from the Northwest Territories and the Cascadia region, from Oregon up to British Columbia. Ontario Progressive Conservative MPPs are facing scrutiny for charging hotel stays in downtown Toronto to the taxpayer, which Premier Doug Ford has said is unacceptable and vowed they will pay all the money back. But Global News has learned Ford's government approved expensing those hotel rooms when night sittings at the legislature were scheduled and MPPs had to be there to vote. Former Tourism Minister Stan Cho, who lives just 6 kilometers from the legislature, resigned after he claimed $16,000 over 3 years for hotels. Colin DeMello reports on the political contradiction that's leading to some major pushback.
There has been a shifting narrative from the Ford government on the hotel expense scandal uncovered by Global News. Premier Doug Ford has expressed anger over the expenses and suggested that Stan Cho, who resigned as the Minister of Tourism over the scandal, made a mistake when he billed taxpayers for $16,000 in hotel rooms.
It's unacceptable. It's not tolerated. And Stan did the right thing.
A number of progressive Conservative MPPs were routinely booking hotel rooms when the Ontario legislature was in session, even though they live within commuting distance from Queen's Park. But according to emails obtained by Global News, the government repeatedly told members of the PC caucus to consider the benefit anytime the legislature ran late into the night. For those members with no Toronto accommodation allowance, the email reads, you may choose to book a hotel room downtown for the days of night sittings. That contradicts the Premier's assertion that the expense was unacceptable.
Clearly, Doug Ford can't keep his story straight. On the one hand, he's telling the people of Ontario that this is unacceptable, when he is the one who is clearly, him and his staff, are telling these members what the standard is.
The scandal has also led to pushback within the Progressive Conservative Party. Sources say during a closed-door caucus meeting, the Premier only said some of the costs would have to be repaid, before offering a very different take during public news conferences.
If you guys think for a second I'm happy about this, you're wrong. It's unacceptable. They're all paying it back. Simple as that.
Critics say they are holding the Premier to his word.
What's unacceptable is that the Premier seems to think that it's all fine until somebody gets caught.
The fallout has left the Premier's office scrambling to gain control of a problematic narrative. Colin DeMello, Global News, Toronto.
The new bridge between Ontario and Michigan that Canada built and paid for is finally set to open, but the Canadian government will not be celebrating with their American counterparts. It's now clear the concessions Canada made to get it open. Under the original agreement back in 2012, Canada agreed to finance the Gordie Howe Bridge and later collect tolls to recover its investment. The bridge would be jointly owned by Canada and Michigan, and Canada would gain substantially from improving access to its largest export market. But then last month, the U.S. president intervened, claiming the U.S. was getting nothing from the deal and demanding to be fully compensated. Mackenzie Gray joins us to explain what Canada gave up and the lack of clarity from the Carney government about it.
11:30 p.m. isn't normally a time politicians release something they're excited to talk about, Donna, but that's when the new Gordie Howe Bridge deal dropped on Tuesday night. The agreement outlines what Global News first reported, that Canada is set to give 50% of bridge revenues to the Americans after maintenance costs are covered for 15 years, money to be used in an American-controlled regional economic fund. That directly contradicts multiple comments from the Prime Minister, who'd previously said Canada wouldn't share money with the U.S. until they were made whole for the $6.4 billion they paid to build the bridge.
Any sharing of the toll revenue won't happen until all of the debt is repaid.
Under the original 2012 agreement, Canada was to get 100% of the revenues until they were paid back for a bridge the U.S. and Michigan spent $0 on, despite getting a 50% ownership stake. The Conservatives, unimpressed.
We've discovered that not only has the Prime Minister caved, Liberals have indeed lied.
The Americans also getting a veto over tolls, now not allowed to increase by 10% or meaningfully drop below the level set at the nearby Ambassador Bridge. A win for their owners, the Maroon family of Detroit, noted Trump allies, who recently donated $1 million to a presidential super PAC. Neither Mark Carney nor any of the ministers responsible for the bridge were available for an interview.
I think my colleague could be better answering.
Leaving the industry minister, who hasn't been involved with the bridge, left as the lone Liberal defender.
Ultimately, the goal of the government has always been to make sure that we would be able to get good value for money.
The bridge deal, the first Canada-U.S. agreement in Carney's time in office, a precursor to free trade talks that Trump's top negotiator says could stretch into next year, despite his hope for a side deal with Canada.
I would love to have between now and the end of the year at least some arrangements, one with Canada, one with Mexico.
Despite the new 50% tariff threat, the bridge is still set to open on July 27th, Donna, but the joint U.S.-Canada ribbon-cutting ceremony has been cancelled by the Liberals in favor of a Canada-only party in Windsor this Friday.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. Canada's premiers are in the second day of meetings in Charlottetown, and while they've got lots on the agenda other than U.S.-Canada relations, the latest tariff threat from the U.S. president is hard to ignore. Manitoba's premier says the provincial leaders are united in the face of it.
I think the American president is very vulnerable right now. The cost of living is a political disaster for Donald Trump, and a lot of people in Canada are saying in order for us to get a CUSMA deal, we should give them a win, but I'm wondering whether we should.
The premier spent several hours in closed-door meetings today focused on other problems, including health care. David Akin is in Charlottetown. David.
Well, Donna, when Ottawa and the provinces set up the system of transferring federal cash to the provinces to run our health care system, the idea was that Ottawa would pay 50%, the provinces would pay 50%. Well, these days, Ottawa is paying just 21%, and the provinces say that's not sustainable.
I think we all agree that we want to see an increased federal share of investments in healthcare.
The goal of the premiers is straightforward but expensive, making sure everyone has a family doctor or primary care team, and keeping emergency rooms open so people can get care when they need it.
Many of our provinces are looking at a fiscal cliff in terms of funding our healthcare system. So
the current Canada provincial deal on healthcare transfers expires next year, and New Brunswick's premier is pitching for more federal cash in the kind of economic terms that a central banker / prime minister might appreciate.
A healthy economy is driven by healthy people.
For Arctic premiers, the health funding crisis is an acute one.
If you look at the healthcare system in Nunavut, we have the highest per capita cost of delivering healthcare. Unfortunately, we also have some of the worst outcomes.
So now the premiers will turn to Prime Minister Mark Carney. He'll have a dinner with the premiers this evening and will engage with them in a full-day session on Thursday. Donna.
Okay, David Akin in Charlottetown, thanks. U.S. President Donald Trump's latest target is generic drugs. He's vowing to impose 100% tariffs on imported generic medicine by 2028. It's an attempt to get generic drug manufacturers, most of which are in India, to move their production to the U.S. to avoid the tariffs. The Canadian Generic Pharmaceutical Association says the tariffs would disrupt the fragile generic drug supply chain. Shares of Canada's largest generic drug company, Toronto-based Apotex, fell by nearly 8% on the news today. In the middle of a war over Iran's nuclear program, the U.S. has signed a landmark nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. The agreement would establish Saudi Arabia's civilian nuclear program. The fear is that if Saudi Arabia starts enriching its own uranium, hardliners in Iran could be encouraged to secretly race to build a bomb. Jackson Proskow reports.
As war with Iran rages, there are fears of a whole new arms race in the Middle East, as the U.S. signs a nuclear energy deal with Saudi Arabia that experts say lacks the protections needed to keep the kingdom from one day developing fuel for a nuclear bomb.
The more countries that have the means to produce the fissile material for nuclear weapons, the more destabilizing the region will be.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has made no secret of his desire for American nuclear technology to generate electricity. He has also threatened to pursue a nuclear weapon if Iran ever obtains one.
Suffice it to say, the U.S. is not going to reach any agreement with any country in the world that leads to the risk of proliferation.
But Saudi Arabia could be allowed to enrich its own uranium. Other countries, including Israel, worry the deal could usher in a new era of nuclear expansion across the Middle East. At the very least, it's likely to complicate President Donald Trump's efforts to reach a new nuclear agreement with Iran.
Nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Do you want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? You think it's good?
A deal with Iran can't happen until the two sides get back to talking, and right now they couldn't be farther apart. And now Trump is making fresh threats to strike Iran's power plants and nuclear facilities if any more ships are hit in the Strait of Hormuz.
Iran's nuclear program cannot be bombed away. At the end of this war, however it turns out, Tehran is going to maintain the knowledge that's necessary to build nuclear weapons.
Now that knowledge is on the path to spreading to other nations in a volatile region. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
Ukraine has taken aim at Russia's largest online retailer. For the second time in a week, drones attacked warehouses belonging to Wildfires, referred to as Russia's Amazon, sending flames and thick black smoke into the sky. One person was reportedly killed. At least 8 others were hurt. Ukraine's president accuses Wildfires of supplying the Russian army with drone components and navigation gear. The search for a Calgary boy missing for nearly a week. Coming up, how police are turning to AI for help. Police in Calgary have turned to new artificial intelligence tools to help in the search for a missing boy. 11-year-old Parker Wells has not been seen since last Thursday when he walked away from his day home. Heather Urix-West explains how AI could help in the search, but with limitations.
Any area is a good area, though.
For almost a full week, volunteers across Calgary have been on the search for Parker Wells.
We just want to do our part to see if we can find him.
Calgary police say the many boots on the ground are being assisted with some relatively new technological tools.
So what are we looking at here?
The movement of the many search parties is tracked using GPS in real time, with progress shared across all units. This isn't AI, but the service is using another tool that is.
It is a software tool that allows us to examine video footage in the blink of an eye, truly, where we're going through, hundreds of hours of video in mere minutes.
This AI tool helped police track Parker's movements on the day he disappeared from his day home to this street about 5 kilometers away. But the little boy hasn't been seen on CCTV footage since Thursday afternoon, so police are casting a wider net.
Initially, we were asking people to only send us your video if you believed that you had a sighting of Parker. Now we're asking people, just send us your video and let us do the work.
AI tools are quickly becoming integrated in police work across North America and around the world. But experts like Brandon May caution its usefulness varies depending on the goal.
We've just finished a study that looks at the types of decision making that we can see with AI, and anything which is strategic, investigative, tactical, or operational has been classified as unsafe for decision making.
AI instead, May says, is best used to analyze and synthesize data, as the Calgary police is doing with CCTV footage, hoping it will help bring Parker home. Heather Urix-West, Global News, Calgary.
AI gone rogue. Ahead, what an OpenAI test model decided to do all on its own. New graphic images are rolling out on cigarette packages sold in Canada. 13 pictures show a range of health issues linked to smoking, including throat cancer and sudden infant death syndrome. The pictures cover 75% of the packaging. There are new warnings directly on individual cigarettes as well. It's the fourth set of health messaging from Health Canada since the year 2000, and it's aimed at cutting tobacco use to less than 5% by 2035. Artificial intelligence is pushing boundaries faster than humans can keep up. And now OpenAI has revealed one of its test models went rogue. It hacked into another AI company without being directed to do so by a human. Nathaniel Dove explains what happened and why it's another wake-up call about the capabilities of AI.
It was an attack unlike any that came before it, the breach company claims. Hugging Face, which hosts an artificial intelligence cybersecurity testing ground, said it was hacked, and it was driven by an autonomous AI agent system. On Tuesday, ChatGPT maker OpenAI issued a statement saying its agents were responsible and that the incident was driven by ChatGPT 5.6 Sol and an even more capable pre-release model. While operating in a sandboxed, meaning isolated testing environment, the AI determined how to access the internet. The AI's inferred Hugging Face has data and solutions to beat the cybersecurity test, and then found ways to gain access to Hugging Face's information.
I don't think this represents, the AI itself becoming a problem. It was trying to solve a benchmark. It just did it in a way that shows you how capable it is.
The University of Toronto's Sean Mullen says the incident is likely a function of programming, not sinister design. OpenAI says it's investigating with Hugging Face and sharing its findings. Mullen points out the ChatGPT model used isn't available to the public, and when rival AI maker Anthropic announced its Mythos model was too capable to publicly release, it created Project Glasswing to develop defenses with companies like Google and Apple. Mullen says it shows the companies trying to be responsible, but he says threats lie with less trustworthy actors.
Open source models represent a challenge because they're just released into the wild and anyone can use them.
Hugging Face used an open source AI to detect the hack.
They're not quite as good as, Fable, Mythos, ChatGPT 5.6, but they're better than those models were 6 months ago.
With governments lagging behind on AI regulation, responsibility seems to fall on the companies making it. Nathaniel Dove, Global News, Toronto.
Next, the Louvre reopens the Apollo Gallery, but something is missing. The Louvre's historic Apollo Gallery reopened today for the first time since last year's brazen daytime heist of the crown jewels, but there's not much to see. Visitors can only view the gallery's elaborate frescoes and gilded ceilings. What's left of the jewels, once the centerpiece of the room, have been removed. The plan is to eventually display the ones that weren't stolen in a separate high-security area, all part of a long-term renovation plan that is expected to cost more than $1 billion.
Obviously, we need that more security so that everybody could see them.
In 2025, thieves pretending to be construction crews used a mechanical lift to reach a second-floor window, and in about 7 minutes, they were gone after they smashed displays inside and grabbed 8 pieces from the crown jewels collection, worth more than $141 million. Those pieces are still missing, except for a crown the thieves dropped when they escaped. 4 people have been charged. And that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is the historic Delta lifeboat in the water off Saturna Island, BC. We'd love to see Your Canada. Please email it to us. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.